I'm Paige, now 34. 2 months ago, I opened my eyes in a hospital bed to the devastating realization that a stranger was caring for my newborn daughter because my own mother had chosen a casino night over her grandchild. For 9 long years, I had quietly sent my parents $4,500 every single month. That adds up to nearly $500,000. Not once did anyone utter a simple thank you. Then came the night I lay in the ER with a punctured lung and 3 fractured ribs. My tiny girl rested alone in the NICU while my mother told my husband, "Paige always has these emergencies. Your sister never does." 3 hours after I halted every transfer, my grandfather stepped into my hospital room carrying a thick folder. What he revealed next changed everything. Before I share the rest, if you love stories of standing up for yourself and watching karma finally step in, please like and subscribe, but only if this truly resonates with you. Drop a comment. Where are you tuning in from, and what time is it there right now? Let me take you back 9 years to the moment it all began. I was 25, fresh out of college, when my first real paycheck landed. I stared at the balance like it was a small miracle. Then my phone rang. "Paige?" Mom's voice broke. She was crying. "It's your father. He had a minor stroke." My heart froze. "What? Is he okay?" "He's stable, but honey, our insurance is terrible. The bills are piling up. We're behind on the mortgage. They're talking foreclosure." I gripped the phone harder. "How much do you need?" "I hate asking. You just started working, but you're the only one who can save us." We settled on $2,000 a month. I set up the automatic transfer that very night. "One more thing," Mom added before hanging up. "Don't tell your father. He'd be humiliated. This stays between us." Of course I agreed. What daughter wouldn't step up for her family? She never thanks me, not that night, not ever. Instead, she said, "This is simply what daughters do." 3 days later, I scrolled Instagram. My sister Megan had posted a photo, proudly displaying a Louis Vuitton bag, beaming. Caption, "Best mom ever." She knew I'd been craving retail therapy after my breakup. I stared at the image for ages. I nearly called Mom to ask. Almost. Then I convinced myself, maybe it was discounted. Maybe Megan was struggling too. Maybe I was being selfish for even wondering. That was the first lie I told myself. It wouldn't be the last. By year 3, the amount rose to $3,500. Megan wants to enroll in an online marketing course, Mom explained. She's finally discovered her passion. She wants to become an influencer. Year 5, $4,500. The house needs major repairs. Your father's health is declining. You know how costly his medications are. I never pushed back. I just tightened my own budget, canceled my gym membership, quit eating out, picked up weekend freelance consulting to keep everything afloat. Daniel and I had been together 2 years by then. He started noticing. "Daniel, when are we going to talk about buying a home together?" "Soon," I'd reply. "I just need to save a bit more." He never pressed. But one Thanksgiving, after visiting my parents, he asked something that lingered. "Have you noticed your mom never asks how you're doing?" I brushed it off. She's just busy. She'd spent 40 minutes bragging about Megan's Instagram growth, but hadn't mentioned my promotion once. I had no real answer. What I did have was a memory from 4 years earlier. Grandpa Harold, whom Mom always claimed was too busy for us, uninterested in family, called out of the blue. His voice was gentle, cautious. "Paige, I need to ask. Are you happy? Is your mother treating you well?" I hesitated. His tone unsettled me. "Yes, Grandpa, everything's fine." A long pause. "If that ever changes, call me. Promise?" I promised. Then I hung up and let it slip from my mind. I shouldn't have. Pregnancy changed everything. At 33, those 2 pink lines appeared. Daniel and I both cried. For the first time in years, something deep inside me shifted. I finally did the math I'd avoided. 4,500 times 12 times 9 equals $486,000. I could have owned a home, built a college fund, taken a real vacation instead of a long weekend. But I shoved the thought aside. The baby mattered now. I called Mom. "I have wonderful news. I'm pregnant." "Oh, Paige, finally. I was starting to worry you'd never give me grandchildren." I let the jab pass. Then came the harder part. "Mom, with the baby coming, Daniel and I need to save. I was thinking we could lower the transfers to $3,000 for a while." Silence. 10 seconds, 20. "After everything we sacrificed for you, do you even know what your father's medications cost?" I didn't lower it. Before hanging up, I heard Dad's quiet, weary voice in the background. "Linda, maybe we should let her. Robert, stay out of this." Click. Such a small exchange, I nearly forgot it, but now I see Dad was already breaking. That night, I couldn't sleep. I opened Mom's Facebook. 3 days earlier, her at a spa with friends, cucumber slices on her eyes. Caption, "Self-care Sunday with my girls." The same week, she claimed Dad's prescriptions were draining them. I stared until my eyes stung. Daniel found me crying at 2 a.m. "What's wrong?" "Nothing," I whispered. "Just hormones." Another lie. They were becoming far too easy. 7 months pregnant, exhausted, still sending the money. One evening, Daniel sat me down. He opened his laptop to a spreadsheet. "I need you to see this." He'd tracked it all, every transfer, every excuse, every just one more month that stretched on. "Paige, this is $486,000. Seeing the number in black and white squeezed my chest tight. That's 2 down payments on houses. That's Emma's entire college fund. That's 20 years of retirement savings. I started to defend it, but the words caught in my throat. Did they really need it? Daniel turned the laptop toward me. "Your mom posted about a new living room set last month. Your sister just got back from Cabo. Your dad's medications somehow cost more than cancer treatment." I had no answer. "I'm not telling you what to do," Daniel said quietly, "but I need you to ask yourself something. If you keep doing this, what does our daughter learn? That her mother is an ATM? That family means giving until you have nothing left?" I wanted to argue. I wanted to say he didn't understand, but he did understand. That was the problem. "What if I stop?" I whispered. "What if they hate me?" Daniel took my hand. "Then you'll know. You'll finally know what you're worth to them." I wasn't ready to find out. Not yet. But the universe has a way of forcing your hand. 2 months later, I lay in a hospital bed with a collapsed lung, my baby in the NICU, and my mother's voice echoing through my husband's phone. Paige always has these emergencies. Some lessons you learned the hard way. October 17th, Thursday, 9:47 p.m. I remember the exact time because I checked my phone right before it happened. Daniel had texted, "Drive safe, love you." 36 weeks pregnant, bone-tired from a late meeting, rain hammered the windshield, the kind that turns headlights into smears. I was 3 miles from home, approaching the intersection at Maple and 5th. I had the green light. Green means go. Green means safe. The pickup truck ran the red. I didn't even see it coming. 1 second, I was picturing a warm bath and sleep. The next, metal screaming, glass exploding, the world spinning. I felt the impact in my bones, in my chest, in the place where my daughter was supposed to be safe. My airbag deployed. Something cracked. Multiple somethings. I couldn't breathe. Each inhale burned like fire. Through the shattered window, sirens wailed. Distant at first, then closer. My hand found my belly. Still there, still round. But was she moving? I couldn't tell. Everything hurt too much. "Ma'am? Ma'am, can you hear me?" Flashlights pierced the darkness. Voices. Someone cutting my seatbelt. "She's pregnant. We need to move now." I tried to speak, tried to say, "Save her first." No sound came out. The last thing I saw before everything went black was a paramedic's young, frightened face. The last thing I thought was, "Please not her. Take me if you have to, but not her." Then nothing. I wouldn't wake up for 14 hours. When I did, I'd learn exactly what my family was made of. Daniel was in Seattle when his phone rang. He told me later how it unfolded. He was in his hotel room reviewing code for a morning presentation. Caller ID, Denver General. "Mr. Reynolds, this is Dr. Okonkwo. Your wife has been in a serious accident." He doesn't remember packing, doesn't remember calling the airline, just fragments. running through the airport, begging for an earlier flight, being told the soonest departure was 6 hours away. "Is she alive?" he kept asking. "Is the baby alive?" "Your wife is in surgery, emergency C-section. We had to deliver the baby early. She's in the NICU now. Paige has a punctured lung, 3 broken ribs, internal bleeding. She's critical but stable." Daniel stood in the middle of SeaTac Airport and felt the floor vanish. 6 hours? He couldn't get there for 6 hours. His wife unconscious in surgery, his newborn daughter alone in the NICU, and he was 2,000 miles away. He did the only thing he could think of. He called my mother. She lived 20 minutes from the hospital. 20 minutes. She could be there before the surgery ended. She could hold Emma. She could be there when I woke up. The phone rang 4 times. "Hello?" Mom's voice was cheerful, relaxed. "Linda, it's Daniel. Paige has been in an accident. She's in surgery. The baby—" "Oh my God!" A gasp. Genuine shock. "Is she okay?" "I don't know. I need you to go to the hospital. Please. I can't get there for 6 hours." A pause. Too long. "Tonight," Daniel said, voice cracking. "Please, now. Your granddaughter is in the NICU alone." Another pause. In the background, Daniel heard it. Bells, electronic chimes, the unmistakable soundtrack of slot machines. "Daniel, you know Megan is on her Caribbean cruise this week. What does that have to do with—" "I promised to watch her cat. Whiskers gets anxious when he's alone." Daniel laughed. He actually laughed, because surely this was a joke. "Linda, your daughter is in the ICU. Your granddaughter was just born premature. I'm asking you to drive 20 minutes. "Paige always has these emergencies," she said, voice turning cold, annoyed. "Your sister never has these problems. Megan is so organized, so put together. Maybe if Paige wasn't always working late—" "She was driving home from work, Linda. A truck ran a red light." "Well, I'm sure it's not as serious as it sounds. You know how hospitals exaggerate. Call me tomorrow when things calm down." The slot machines chimed again, louder now. She wasn't even trying to hide it. "Daniel, you're at a casino," Daniel said flatly. "I'm having a night out with friends. Is that a crime?" "Your daughter almost died." "And she didn't, did she? She'll be fine. She's always fine." A heavy sigh, thick with inconvenience. "Besides, Daniel, you married her. This is your responsibility, not mine." She hung up. Daniel stared at his phone for a long time. Then he did something he'd never done before. He scrolled to a contact he'd saved months ago, just in case. A number I'd mentioned once years earlier. Harold Green. He pressed call. At 78 years old, my grandfather answered on the second ring. I woke to fluorescent lights in a tube down my throat. Everything hurt. My chest, my arm, my head. Even my thoughts felt bruised. A nurse leaned over me. "Mrs. Reynolds, you're in the ICU. You've been in surgery. Try not to move." I couldn't speak with the tube, but my hand flew to my belly. Flat. Empty. Panic. Pure, white-hot panic. The nurse understood. "Your daughter is alive. She's in the NICU. She's small, but she's strong." I started crying. I couldn't stop. They removed the tube an hour later. My voice scraped out like sandpaper. "Where's my husband?" "He's on a flight. Should land in about 2 hours." "My mother?" The nurse hesitated. That single pause told me everything I needed to know. "No family has come yet, ma'am. No one." My daughter had been born, and not a single person from my family had shown up. I asked for my phone. They'd salvaged it from the wreckage, screen cracked but still working. No missed calls from Mom. No texts, nothing. But there was one notification. An Instagram post from Megan, time-stamped 3 hours earlier. A selfie on the cruise ship deck, cocktail raised, sun glittering behind her. Caption, "Living my best life, Caribbean vibes only." I set the phone down carefully. "I need to hire a night nurse," I told the attending. "Someone to stay with my daughter in the NICU until my husband gets here." They connected me with an agency. 40 minutes later, a woman stepped into my room. "Mrs. Reynolds, I'm Maggie. I'll be with Emma tonight." Mid-40s, warm eyes, steady hands. Competent, Kind. She glanced at my chart, then paused. Reynolds. Page Reynolds. Yes? She studied my face for a moment. He used to say his biggest regret was not speaking up sooner. I never understood what he meant. My breath caught. Who? Your grandfather. She gave a small, sad smile. Would you like me to contact him? I still have his number. I shook my head slowly. Not yet. I need to process everything first. She nodded, respecting the boundary. Before she left for the NICU, she scribbled something on a notepad and placed it on my bedside table, just in case you change your mind. I didn't know then that someone else had already made the call. Maggie stayed a moment longer while I absorbed her words. What did he say about me? That you were brilliant, that you worked too hard, that he worried about you. She paused, and that his biggest regret was not speaking up sooner. I still didn't understand. Not then. After she left to check on Emma, I lay alone in the dark. My right arm was in a cast. Every breath sent fresh pain through my ribs, but my mind was razor sharp, clearer than it had been in years. I fungled for my phone with my left hand, opened the banking app, transaction history loaded. 9 years of automatic transfers, reliable as clockwork, $4,500 every single month. I scrolled backward through the years. Not one thank you text in the records, not one acknowledgement, just money flowing out into a bottomless void. My finger hovered over the settings. Manage automatic transfers. Mom's voice echoed in my head. This is what daughters do. But what do mothers do? What do mothers do when their daughters are bleeding in emergency rooms? They show up. That's what they do. Unless they don't. I tapped the screen. Cancel transfer. Are you sure? Yes. Another tap. Cancel transfer. Are you sure? Yes. 9 years. $486,000. 3 taps. That's all it took to end it. I set the phone down. For the first time in nearly a decade, something loosened inside my chest, something that had nothing to do with broken ribs. I should have done this years ago. 3 hours later, the hospital room door opened. There stood my grandfather. He looked exactly as I remembered. Tall even at 78, silver hair cropped short, eyes that missed nothing. The eyes of a man who'd spent 40 years reading people from a judge's bench. Paige. His voice cracked on my name. My girl. I came as fast as I could. I burst into tears. He crossed the room in 3 strides and took my good hand, the one without the cast. His grip was warm, steady. I'm here now, he said. I'm here. I couldn't speak. 4 years. It had been 4 years since I'd seen him. Mom always had an excuse. Grandpa's traveling. Grandpa's busy with his foundation. Grandpa doesn't really do family visits anymore. I finally choked out, Mom said you didn't want to see me. His jaw tightened. She told me the same thing about you. We stared at each other. Years of manipulation suddenly laid bare. Daniel called me tonight. He told me what happened, what your mother said. Shame flooded through me. Grandpa, He squeezed my hand. You don't apologize. You have nothing to apologize for. He reached into his coat and pulled out a thick manila folder, worn at the edges. Paige, I need to tell you something. I've known for a while about the money. My stomach dropped. What? The transfers, every month for 9 years. He opened the folder. Inside were bank statements, my bank statements. I've been watching. I have my ways. A ghost of a smile. Old habits from the bench. I stared at the papers. Every transaction documented. Why didn't you say anything? He was quiet for a long moment. When he spoke, his voice carried decades of regret. Because I made the same mistake with your grandmother. I saw problems in our family and stayed silent, hoping they'd fix themselves. She died before I could make things right. He met my eyes. I thought, foolishly, that if I gave Linda enough rope, she might choose to do better on her own, that a mother's love would eventually win out. His jaw tightened. Instead, she used that rope to tie you down for 9 years. She failed, and I won't make the same mistake twice." Grandpa pulled a chair close to my bed. The folder lay open between us like evidence in a courtroom. $486,000, he said quietly. "That's what you've given them?" I nodded. Speaking felt impossible. "Do you know what your mother tells people at family gatherings?" I shook my head. "She stood in my living room last Christmas and told me you refused to contribute to your father's medical bills." My mouth fell open. "That's not... I've been paying for everything." "I know," he held up a hand. "I know, Paige. That's why I started digging." He pulled out another sheet, an email chain, printed. 3 years ago, your mother came to me. She wanted me to update my will, leave everything to Megan." "What?" "Her argument was that you already have a rich husband and don't need the help." His laugh was bitter. "Meanwhile, you were working 60-hour weeks and sending her enough to buy a small house." I felt sick. Actually, physically sick. I didn't change the will. Not then. I wanted to see what she would do. He leaned forward, eyes steady on mine. "But tonight, Paige, tonight she showed me exactly who she is." "Grandpa, I don't understand. How did you know about tonight so fast?" He gave a real smile this time, small but warm. "Someone called me. Someone who's been watching, too." The door opened. I turned, expecting a nurse. It was my father. Robert Martinez stood in the doorway, eyes red-rimmed, looking more broken than I'd ever seen him. "I called him," Dad said quietly. "I couldn't stay silent anymore." Before I could respond, the door swung open again. Mom stood there in a silk blouse and full makeup. I could smell her perfume from across the room, the expensive one she saved for special occasions. I learned later what brought her here. Around 2 a.m., Grandpa had called her directly. His voice was ice. "Your daughter almost died tonight. Your granddaughter is in the NICU, and I know exactly where you were, Linda. I know everything." That was when Mom realized this wasn't just about me anymore. This was about the inheritance, about Grandpa knowing the truth, about damage control. She hadn't come to see me. She'd come to manage the situation. She froze when she saw Grandpa already there, then spotted Dad. Her expression flickered. Confusion, then something sharper. Calculation. She switched modes instantly. Her face crumpled into practiced concern. She rushed to my bedside. "Paige, my baby, I came as soon as I heard." I glanced at the clock. 3:47 a.m. The accident had happened at 9:47 p.m. 6 hours. Grandpa's voice sliced through the performance. "Linda, you arrived at the hospital at 4 in the morning. The accident was 6 hours ago. Where were you?" Mom's hand, reaching for mine, stopped midair. The traffic. I couldn't get away from..." "You were at the Desert Rose Casino," Dad said quietly. "I tracked your phone." Mom's face went pale, then flushed red. Then she smiled, that tight, dangerous smile I knew too well. "Robert, how dare you? I was with friends. Am I not allowed to have friends?" "While your daughter was in surgery," Grandpa said, words like frost, "while your granddaughter was in the NICU, while your son-in-law begged you for help?" Mom turned to me, eyes pleading now. "Paige, honey, you understand. I didn't know how serious it was. Daniel exaggerates. He always..." "Mom," my voice came out steadier than I expected. "Stop." She blinked. "I heard what you told Daniel. Paige always has these emergencies. This is your responsibility. I know exactly what you said." I looked at her, really looked at her. "Don't look at me for help, Mom. I can't save you this time." Okay, I need to pause here for a second. If you're watching this and you've ever had a family member who always had an excuse, who was never there when you needed them, but expected you to drop everything for them, I see you. I really do. Drop a comment below. Have you ever had that moment where you finally stopped making excuses for someone you loved? And if you're new here and this story's hitting home, hit that subscribe button. Now, back to that hospital room. The silence was suffocating. Mom stood frozen between me and Grandpa. Her eyes darted from face to face, searching for an ally, finding none. Grandpa reached for the folder. "Linda, I want you to see something." He pulled out the stack of bank statements and held them up. "This is every transfer Paige has made to your account over the past 9 years. Every single one." Mom's face drained of color. $486,000, Grandpa said, voice steady as a judge delivering a verdict. "Your daughter sent you nearly $500,000. She delayed buying a house. She worked weekends until she was exhausted. She gave up her financial security for you. That's not—" "Don't," Grandpa's voice sharpened. "Don't you dare lie to me." He pulled out another sheet. "You told me Paige was selfish. You told me she never helped the family. You told the entire extended family she was too busy for everyone." He set the paper down. "You lied for years." Dad stood in the corner watching. He looked old, defeated. "And you, Robert," Grandpa turned to him. "You knew, didn't you?" Dad's voice was barely a whisper. "Yes." "And you said nothing." "I was afraid." Dad's eyes met mine. "I'm sorry, Paige. I was a coward." Mom found her voice again. "This is ridiculous. That money was— she offered. We needed—" "You needed." Grandpa stepped closer. "You needed a spa day. You needed casino nights. You needed to buy Megan a Louis Vuitton bag while your other daughter skipped meals to make rent." Mom's mouth opened, closed, opened again. For the first time in my life, she had nothing to say. Her shock twisted into fury. She spun toward Dad. "You," she jabbed a finger at him. "You called him. You told him about the money." Dad flinched but didn't back down. "Someone had to." "How could you betray me like this after everything I've done for this family?" "What have you done, Linda?" Dad's voice cracked. "What exactly have you done?" "I held us together. I managed everything. You managed to spend our daughter's money while telling everyone she was the selfish one." Dad's hands were shaking. "I watched. I stayed quiet. I told myself it wasn't that bad. But tonight," he turned to me. His eyes were wet. "Tonight, Linda was at the blackjack table when Daniel called. I heard everything. She laughed about it afterwards. She said, 'Paige will figure it out. She always does.'" The room tilted. Even knowing what I knew, hearing it spoken aloud was heavier, different. Dad's voice broke. "I couldn't let it go anymore. So I called your grandfather. I told him everything." Mom stared at her husband like she'd never seen him before. "You're choosing her over me?" "I'm choosing what's right," Dad wiped his eyes. "For the first time in 30 years, I'm choosing what's right." Grandpa placed a hand on Dad's shoulder, a silent acknowledgement. Then he turned back to Mom. "Linda, I'm meeting with my attorney tomorrow. I'm changing my will." The color drained from Mom's face. "Dad, you can't. Megan needs—" "Megan is 29 years old and has never held a job. That's not Megan's fault. That's yours." He paused, voice final. "But we're done here, Linda."
"We're done." Mom's composure shattered completely. "Dad, please, you don't understand. Paige doesn't need the money. She has Daniel. She has her career. Megan has nothing." "Megan has nothing because you never let her have anything," Grandpa replied evenly. "You gave her money instead of responsibility, comfort instead of character. That's not love, Linda. That's sabotage." Mom turned to me, desperate now. "Paige, talk to him. Tell him we can work this out. We're family." I looked at her, really looked. This was the woman who taught me to ride a bike, who braided my hair before school, who told me I could be anything I wanted. This was also the woman who spent 9 years taking my money while telling everyone I was selfish, who chose a casino over her critically injured daughter, who made me feel guilty simply for needing anything at all. Both truths existed side by side, and that duality was the hardest part to swallow. "Mom," I said. My voice was calm, surprisingly calm. "I can't help you this time, but I've helped you for 9 years. I'm done." She started crying. Real tears or performance? I couldn't tell anymore. Maybe the line between them had disappeared long ago. Grandpa touched my hand gently. "Paige, I don't know if you want anything from me after all this time, after how I failed you by staying silent too long." His voice wavered for the first time. "But I want you to know I see you. I've always seen you." I squeezed his hand back. "I don't need money, Grandpa. I know." He smiled, the first real, unguarded smile I'd seen from him in years. "You'll have both. I'll make sure of it." Mom watched us. Something shifted behind her eyes. The tears stopped abruptly. In that instant, I recognized it. She wasn't grieving. She was recalculating her next move. 4 weeks passed. My ribs healed, my lung reinflated fully. Emma grew stronger every day, hitting milestones the doctors had warned might take months. Life settled into a quiet, steady rhythm. Morning coffee, Emma's soft coos filling the house, Daniel working from home so he could stay close, and no money leaving my account each month. The first month without the transfer felt strange, like a phantom limb. I kept opening the banking app, half expecting to see the withdrawal, but there was only silence. Peaceful silence. Mom called frequently. "Paige, please, let's talk. Paige, I've been doing a lot of thinking. Paige, you can't shut me out forever." I didn't answer. I wasn't ready. Then, one afternoon, the voicemail was different. "Paige," her voice was thick, wet. "I know I messed up. I know I hurt you, but please, let me meet Emma. Let me be her grandmother. I'll do better, I promise." I played the message 3 times. Daniel watched me carefully. "You're considering it." "Am I stupid if I am?" "You're not stupid. You're hopeful." He kissed my forehead. "That's different." I called her back. "One chance, Mom. Emma's 1-month celebration. You can come, but this is it. If you mess this up, I won't forgive again. I swear." "Thank you, Paige. Thank you." The party was planned for 20 people: Grandpa, Dad, a handful of close friends, some colleagues, and Mom. Daniel helped me prepare. Decorations, food, a small playlist. "Are you sure about this?" he asked the night before. I looked at Emma sleeping in her bassinet. "No, but I need to know once and for all." He nodded. He understood. We both knew this wasn't truly about second chances. It was about closure. The party began at 2 p.m. Grandpa arrived first, carrying a stuffed elephant larger than Emma herself. Dad came alone. He and Mom had driven separately, which I noticed but didn't comment on. Friends and colleagues drifted in. The house filled with laughter, warm wishes, and the gentle chaos of celebration. Emma slept through most of it, blissfully unaware she was the star. Mom arrived at 2:45, 45 minutes late. She walked in with Megan. I hadn't invited Megan. "Surprise!" Mom beamed. Megan flew back early from her trip to meet her niece. Megan flashed her perfect Instagram smile. "Hey sis, congrats on the baby." I forced a polite smile. "Thanks for coming." Daniel's hand found mine, a quiet warning, quiet support. Mom made the rounds, hugging guests, exclaiming over decorations, playing the picture-perfect grandmother. To anyone watching casually, she was flawless. But I watched her eyes. Every few minutes, she glanced toward Grandpa, tracking his position, gauging his mood. I wasn't the only one who noticed. "Your mother's up to something," Daniel murmured. "I know." 30 minutes in, I slipped into the kitchen for more napkins. Megan was there, on her phone. She didn't see me. "Mom, you need to talk to him soon. I can't live like this anymore. I need that money." I froze. "I know, honey." Mom came through the speaker. "I'm working on it. Just give me an opening." "You promised you'd handle it." "I will. Trust me." I stepped back silently. So this was it.
The apology, the tears, the promise to do better. All of it a calculated play. All of it about the inheritance. I should have known. Deep down, I did know. I just hadn't wanted to believe it. I walked back to the living room, calm, focused. Daniel read my face instantly. What happened? Watch. Mom had cornered Grandpa near the window. They spoke in low tones. She rested her hand on his arm in that gentle, pleading way she'd perfected for decades. Earlier, someone had set up the karaoke machine. The wireless microphone rested on the side table, system speaker still powered on. Mom didn't notice. Dad, I know things have been tense, but you have to understand, Megan needs the inheritance more than Paige does. Paige has a husband, a career. Megan has nothing. The room fell silent. 20 pairs of eyes turned toward the window. Mom kept going, oblivious. I'm not asking you to cut Paige out completely. Just reconsider the split. It's only fair. Someone coughed. The sound sliced through the hush. Mom turned. She saw the faces staring. She saw the microphone on the table, its red light blinking steadily. The color drained from her face. She looked around wildly. That's not... You're taking this out of context. What context would make that better? Sarah stepped forward. Did I just hear you lobbying for inheritance money at your granddaughter's 1-month party? You don't understand our family. I understand plenty, and so does everyone in this room. Paige is one of the most generous people I know, and you're standing here playing politics with a baby in the next room. Mom's mouth opened and closed. No sound emerged. Grandpa stepped away from her. His face was carved from stone. Everyone in this room just heard what I've known for years, he said, voice clear and final. My daughter sees her children as resources to exploit, not people to love. The room held its breath. I stood. My legs were steady. My voice came out clear. Mom? She turned to me, tears forming. Real or staged, I'd never know for certain. Paige, please, this is a misunderstanding. I was just trying to... One word, I said, gently but firmly. She stopped. I walked to the center of the room. Everyone watched. Friends, colleagues, the little family that remained. Their attention felt like a tangible weight. I gave you one last chance today, I said, voice unwavering. Not because I believed you'd changed, but because I needed to know, beyond any doubt, what you would choose. Mom reached for me. Paige, for 9 years, I sent you $4,500 every month. You know what that totals? $486,000, I answered quietly. $500,000. Gasps rippled through the room. Someone whispered, "Oh my God." While I sent that money, I continued, you told everyone I was selfish, that I never helped the family, that I was too busy for all of you. I paused, letting the words settle. The night I almost died, you were at a casino. Your granddaughter was alone in the NICU. You chose slot machines. Mom was crying now, real tears finally, or so it seemed. And today, at my daughter's celebration, you're still thinking about money, about inheritance, about what you can take. I stepped closer. I'm not saying this out of anger, Mom. I'm saying it out of love, for my daughter, for myself, and honestly, even for you, because someone should have stopped you long ago. I took a breath. From today forward, we're done. Don't call, don't visit. We're done. Tears streaked her mascara. She looked older, smaller, broken. For the first time in my life, I felt no guilt. The silence that followed was absolute. Then Mom exploded. You ungrateful child, her voice cracked. After everything I sacrificed for you, I raised you, I fed you, I gave you everything. You took everything, Mom. There's a difference. Megan stepped forward. Everyone's overreacting. You don't know the whole story. Mom was just trying to save face, Megan? Sarah folded her arms. We all just heard her ask her dying father to cut Paige out of the will at her granddaughter's 1-month party. What part of that story am I missing? Megan's mouth snapped shut. James, one of Daniel's colleagues near the door, spoke up. Wait, so she sent them $500,000 and they called her selfish? Am I understanding this right? That's what I heard, someone murmured. Whispers spread. Eyes turned toward Mom with fresh judgment, settling over the room like a quiet verdict. Dad stepped forward. His hands trembled, but his voice held firm. Linda, we need to go. Robert, we can't just... Yes, we can. He placed a hand on her arm. We've done enough here. For a moment, I thought she would fight, scream, make a scene. Instead, something inside her collapsed. The performance had run its course. No one was buying it anymore. She turned without another word and walked toward the door. Megan followed, shooting me a pure look of venom. Just before she left, Mom paused. You'll regret this, Paige. Someday you'll need me. I met her eyes. No, Mom, I spent 9 years believing I needed you. Turns out I was wrong. The door closed behind them. The room exhaled. And I felt something I hadn't in years. Freedom. Okay, I have to ask. If you were in my place, would you have given Mom that final chance, or would you have cut ties right there in the hospital? There's no right answer. I'm genuinely curious. Drop your thoughts in the comments. And if you haven't already, hit that like button. It really helps this story reach more people who need to hear it. Now, let me tell you what happened after they left. 2 weeks after the party, Grandpa called. It's done. He'd met with his attorney. The new will was signed, witnessed, and filed. The breakdown was straightforward. 70% to me, held in trust for Emma, 20% to Dad, because he'd finally found his voice, 10% to Mom and Megan, with one condition. Mom had to complete 6 months of therapy with a licensed counselor before receiving a single cent. I don't expect her to do it, Grandpa said, but the door is open. That's the best I can offer. I didn't argue. It was more than fair. The ripple effects arrived quickly. Without my monthly transfers, Mom and Dad's finances tightened overnight. Spa days vanished. Casino nights ended. Mom sold the new living room set she once bragged about on social media. Megan's influencer career collapsed without the funding lifeline. She posted a tearful video about family betrayal that earned exactly 47 views. 1 week later, she started a job at a department store, her first real job at 29. Dad called me once, alone. I know I don't deserve forgiveness. You're right, you don't. Silence stretched. But thank you, I said, for finally speaking up. It was too late, but it wasn't nothing. He cried. I let him. The extended family heard everything. Of course they did. News like that moves fast. Aunts and uncles who'd swallowed Mom's stories for years reached out with apologies. Some I accepted, some I didn't. And my bank account, for the first time in nearly a decade, began to grow. $54,000 a year. Back in my pocket, back where it belonged. Mom didn't lose her inheritance because of what I said. She lost it because of what she did. There's a difference. 3 months later, Emma sleeps in her crib. Grandpa sits in the rocking chair beside her, reading a novel, glasses perched on his nose. Daniel is in the kitchen making coffee. This is my life now. Grandpa comes over every Sunday. He's teaching Emma to recognize his voice, even though she's too young to understand the words. He sings her old folk songs from his childhood. He tells her stories about her great-grandmother, the woman who saw through Mom's manipulation 50 years ago. She would have loved you, he tells Emma softly. She would have spoiled you rotten. I watch them together and feel something deep inside finally begin to heal. The money I once sent away has already made a quiet, steady difference. And for the first time in a very long time, I'm not afraid of what comes next. I'm just here, present, whole. We paid off the mortgage early. We started a college fund for Emma. We took our first real vacation in years, a quiet cabin in the mountains where the only sounds were wind whispering through pine trees and Emma's soft breathing as she slept between us. Simple, peaceful, ours. Dad calls sometimes now. Our conversations are careful, measured. He's still with Mom, but something fundamental has shifted in him. He's begun setting boundaries, small ones at first, but real. It's not much, he told me last week, but it's a start. That's more than most people ever manage. He was quiet for a moment, then added, "I'm proud of you, Paige. I should have said it years ago, but I'm saying it now." I didn't realize how badly I'd needed to hear those words until they landed. They settled somewhere deep and stayed. Healing isn't linear. Some days my hand still reaches for the phone to call Mom. 9 years of muscle memory is hard to unlearn. Then I remember the mother I wanted to call never truly existed. The real one chose a casino over her critically injured daughter. The real one branded me selfish while spending the money I sent to keep them afloat. That version? I don't miss her at all. 6 months after the party, my phone buzzed with an unknown number. I almost let it go to voicemail, but something made me answer. Paige. Megan's voice was small, stripped of its usual polish. I know I don't deserve this call. I know you probably hate me, but I needed to say something. I stayed silent, let her carry the weight. I got a job, a real one. I've been there 3 months now. Retail, not glamorous, but I show up. I do the work. She paused, and I started therapy. That caught me off guard. Dr. Winters, she's helping me see things about Mom, about me, about how I was raised to believe I was special and everyone else owed me something. Her voice cracked. I'm not asking for money. I'm not asking for forgiveness. I just wanted you to know I'm trying. For the first time, I'm actually trying. More silence. Long seconds. Why now? I asked. Because Dr. Winters asked me a question I couldn't answer. When you're old and look back on your life, who do you want to be? And I had nothing. Her breath hitched. I don't want to be Mom, Paige. I don't want to end up alone, wondering why no one loves me. I let her words hang there. It could still be manipulation, another angle, another play, but the raw break in her voice felt different, unpolished, real. I'm not ready to let you back in, I said at last. I know, but thank you for hearing me. A week later, I sent her 2 words by text. Good luck. It wasn't forgiveness, it wasn't an open door, but it wasn't slammed shut either. 1 year later, Mom never called again. Through Dad, I learned she's living with an old friend now. The house sold, there were far more debts than anyone realized. No more casino nights, no more spa days, no more carefully curated performances of perfect motherhood. I don't feel triumphant about it. I don't feel sad either. I feel free. Megan and I aren't close. We may never be. But she's still in therapy, still working. She sent Emma a birthday card last month, handmade, not store-bought. A small gesture, but genuine. Dad comes for dinner once a month. He and Daniel talk football. He holds Emma with a tenderness I never witnessed when I was a child. Maybe he's trying to make up for lost time. Maybe he's simply exhausted from carrying the man he used to be. Either way, I let him try. And Grandpa is here every Sunday without fail. He's teaching Emma chess, though she mostly tries to chew the pieces. He's writing a memoir about his years on the bench and asked me to help edit it. You're the only one I trust with the truth, he said. I cried, the good kind of tears, when he said that. Last week, as I tucked Emma into bed, she wrapped her tiny hand around my finger and gazed up at me with those wide, trusting eyes. In that moment, I made her a promise. I will never make you feel like you have to earn my love. You are enough. You have always been enough. Family isn't blood. Family is who shows up, who stays, who chooses you, not because they're obligated, but because they want to. I finally found mine. And it was worth everything I lost to arrive here. Before I end, here are a few things this journey taught me, not as advice because I don't know your story, but as truths that anchored me. Guilt is not love. For years, I confused the two. I thought feeling guilty for not giving more meant I cared deeply. But guilt is a leash. Real love doesn't keep score. It doesn't shrink you. You can't set yourself on fire to keep others warm. You've probably heard it. I had too. But hearing it and living it are worlds apart. It took nearly dying to finally believe it. I hope you don't need that kind of wake-up call. The people who truly matter will respect your boundaries. When I drew my line, I braced for abandonment. Instead, the ones who loved me honored it. The ones who didn't simply revealed themselves. Choosing yourself isn't selfish. It's survival. It's dignity. It's showing your children that their mother knows her own worth. Emma will grow up watching a mom who doesn't apologize for taking up space, who doesn't beg for scraps of affection, who understands, deep in her bones, that she deserves better. That's the greatest gift I can give her. Thank you for staying with me through every part of the story. It wasn't easy to share, and I know it wasn't always easy to hear, especially if echoes of your own life rang through it. If this resonated, I'd love to know, what would you have done differently, or what felt painfully familiar? Drop it in the comments. And if you're new here, consider subscribing. I tell real stories about reclaiming your life, setting boundaries, and finding the people who choose you back. There are more in the description below. And one last thing from one survivor to another. You deserve people who choose you, not for what you can provide, not for what they can extract, but simply for who you are. You're enough. You've always been enough. Thank you for watching.